gonna make me go all out up in here, up it. Oh, wait a minute, we're live.
We're live, and I don't think we can sell any tickets to that performance, but I applaud you, good sir.
Well, like I was telling you, I got this rap song that just pops up in my iPhone in my music thing, no matter what, and it goes way back to the days of when I was a fireman. And this fireman, I mean, there was some drama going on. And he sent me this song, and it was this rap song saying, "Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here, up in here." And I got to tell you, it's the way I feel about Bossier politics and Louisiana politics. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here.
Well, I'm glad you're fired up
I'm
about it
sorry.
because I've just had one of those days where I'm just like, you know, and we titled the show 224 Continuance. I think I'm going to kick back and kind of like our attorneys around this place. I just want to ask for a continuance. Can I get a continuance from the folks in the audience, or hell, can I
Yeah,
get a continuance from you, Duke?
I I concur. I think that we should just get a continuance on this show, and we should just check out right now. What do you think?
I think so. That's it. I'll hit the finish button
I
and
mean,
we'll just go home and come back next week.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, it's
I'm fine with
it's
it if
one of
you
those
are.
it's one of those weeks that I just really don't know what we're going to talk about other than, some lawsuits and taxes and other lawsuits and all that kind of good stuff. Hey, did you see where the city of Bossier City, I hate saying that, just Bossier City, said that they were
Oh,
not
you're
they're
oh
not going to
you're
raise
gonna but
taxes.
yeah. You see there, I had a section built in the notes already. See, that proves our point. We're amateurs. Because if we were not amateurs, you would have already looked at the notes and you would know I already had that put in there for us to talk about.
Oh, notes. Oh, I'm supposed to actually look at those things. Who knew? Well, but
See,
look,
we are
we don't have to talk about it yet. I just wanted to mention it. That's all.
uh, okay,
See?
but I got a sneaking suspicion that Bossier City is maybe one of the few. Maybe they're kind of standing alone. They're one of the ones that are going to say, you know what, we're going to give everybody a break. But I can't imagine why they would feel like they need to give everybody a break. I got
Yeah,
no
they're
idea why they would.
the that's the benevolent part of being an overlord.
Oh, how about that? Good one. A good one
Hey,
right there.
hey, that's my one and only shot tonight. That's it. I just took my shot right then. That's it.
That was a good one. So, look, guys, this is going to be a boring, wonky show because we're going to be talking about lawsuits. It seems like this is the week of lawsuits. I mean, we have all this dialogue about government, and ultimately it ends up in court, and you have to have a judge decide the issues. And there are countless court things that have happened and transpired, rulings already, as well as other cases that are going to be heard this week, big cases that are significant.
Yeah, that actually do mean quite a bit. And we get to talk about Seabiscuit. We have not talked about Seabiscuit in a while.
Ah, you noticed.
Yes, I did. Look at that. That little subtle messaging there.
I,
Seabiscuit.
d- I don't always get to wear my Seabiscuit hat, but when I do, it's going to be good.
All right, so we got about 50 plus people watching tonight. Good evening to everybody. Let's see, Jessica Langley Maddox, Greg Bell, Judy Stewart, who else? Cassie Rogers is in there, Ann Bolton Denny, and I know there's more people because my little indicator tells me so, but if y'all are new to the show, this one's a little off from our normal deal because it's going to be a little down in the weeds, and well, that's that.
It is what it is. Let's go to the break and come right back.
So here's what we're going to do, folks. Y'all that have been here with us for a while know the drill. I'm going to hit this little intro button countdown. We'll be back in about 2.5 to 3 minutes. Make some popcorn, get a stiff drink. More importantly, tag a friend, Share this out. We'll be back in a few minutes and we will get down in the weeds with law. How about that?
Knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. You know, there's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
And I titled it "A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys."
Just, you know, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
And aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. Oh, folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS.
We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks.
Through conscious shocking actions, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
In theory, you know, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This live broadcast is brought to you by The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And we're back very quickly.
Okay. So, I mean, look, I'm not even going to tag Bentontown happenings. I mean, because look, they just don't care up there anymore. They only care about their own little, you know, they're antisocial, I think. I don't know.
They're tired of hearing us get on our soapboxes every Tuesday for 224 plus episodes.
But they'll be the first ones to go to griping about, you know, some crap going on. They'll be the ones.
My taxes are going up. Blah blah blah.
Oh,
I didn't know.
Yeah, but you damn sure didn't know because you didn't share bossierwatch. You didn't listen. But anyway,
I mean, it's not like we had the tax assessor Bobby Evanston on here a few episodes ago. I mean, did I just dream that, or did we actually have him on?
No, I think we did, and I think we hit the majority of questions that folks had. I think we hit. I mean, and basically at the end of the day, it all comes down to regarding the taxes, whether or not you're, as you so eloquently put, benevolent overlords choose to be benevolent, or whether they choose to live high off the hog.
Tax us into oblivion, as the saying goes. So I am looking at the notes now. Where do we want to start? I mean,
we're talking about taxes, and everybody gets all hot and bothered about taxes, right? So if you scroll down through the notes, way early, in fact, before, you know, that Blake Stevenson stuff, just above that, millage roll forward.
Yes. Cut 6. Would that be the cut that we want to take a look at?
Go to cut 6, and I think you in the pre-show, this was what you were alluding to, was the fact, and that is not it.
Yeah, hold on. There we go. Oh, look, for immediate release. Bossier City announces that the city will have no tax increase for 2024. Now, I have to say and remind everybody, remember, your assessed property went up. Therefore, the amount you're going to write a check for went up. But what they're saying here is that they're not increasing the millage or the percentage. rate that they can legally charge. I think I said that
Okay.
correctly.
Well, the key words there, Bossier City will not roll forward taxes. So they're not going to do it. But I got another
Hey,
question, Rex. I got
I
a
got a
more.
I got a burning question.
I think me and you got the same question. Maybe.
Like,
What, did I miss a meeting?
that's exactly, you must have been reading my
I,
mind.
well, I'm just wondering.
When the hell did they decide this? I mean, maybe, look,
But
maybe for the folks, maybe the Colonel's out there, yeah, Colonel Crockett's out there in the audience watching. Maybe he remembers he's been to like every city council meeting since the, time memorial. Maybe he can refresh our memory. Maybe we just missed it. But when did they discuss this? How did they
may,
discuss?
maybe recent court rulings have enabled the city of Bossier to not have to disclose when they make decisions or something like that. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. There is the stipulation and a roll forward thing, the catchphrase everybody loves to hate, with no further voter input. But that still doesn't mean, I mean, did they call each other? Did they email each other? Did they do, what's that phrase? Oh, a walking quorum, maybe? Maybe not. I'm
Oh,
just asking.
now, look, I got to tell you, I've been reading all day in 47, 48, 49 pages of a damn ruling from a court on open meetings and public meetings and limiting speech and all that jibber jabber. And I can tell you, I don't know. I, I'm disillusioned today. I'm disillusioned about what part of, you know, uh, government serves the people, that we're in charge, we're the bosses and we're in charge. Because I got to tell you,
Oh, you just
I'm
think
not
you're in
reading,
charge.
I'm not, I'm not reading it that way at all.
It's just like, my mama used to tell me when I was a little kid, you are not the boss around here, young man.
So we've got this press release from the city of Bossier, and I appreciate the press release. I mean, we don't share them all. We don't put them all out there. We don't forward them all. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. Well, we probably should. I mean, but again, we're
We're
two
not
three
in
years,
the pretty flower garden business. We're in the train wreck announcement business.
and we're still clutching our amateur journalist credentials. I mean, we're holding on to them as
Yeah,
tight as we can.
because it's certainly not a business. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah. So not rolling forward. I appreciate it. I'm glad they put it out there. I can't wait to see the meeting where they vote on this. I haven't seen it yet. Or maybe they don't have to vote on it. Maybe I'm just ignorant and I learned something today.
Yeah, maybe not. Look, I could be barking up the wrong tree again, which happens every once in a blue moon.
So what I will tell you though is if you'll go to the next cut, and I'm going to have to get out on the, I mean, or it's not the next cut, but it's
The
a link.
other one, oh, link.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me get back in the. I'm gonna try to catch up to you in overachiever mode. Just a second here. Bear with me,
Look,
folks.
look here, like T-Bag said, just all you got to do is just hold on to this pocket. I'm gonna lead you through, take care of you.
I hadn't seen that show in a while, and I've watched that series twice. That was a great series.
That was a great series. I hate it ended.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Share screen. Let's see if this works. Hey, look at there. It worked.
So,
Sort of.
well, the screen worked, but it took you to the top. So anyway, well, there is a in the news and events. If you go on down there, there is the announcement of a meeting or hearing from the sheriff's office regarding their taxes, and you probably scroll down from all that to find it. It wasn't too terribly far. May have been on the next page, and I would suspect it may have been as a result of our show that kind of all the government entities were kind of getting on the stick about enlightening the public. Right there.
There we go.
That's it right there. Notice of public hearing.
Yeah.
So somewhere I read, and I looked for it today. I read it about maybe a week ago, maybe so many days ago, where the sheriff, and we like Julian Whittington. I mean, we
He's
think he's been a
good
good
guy.
sheriff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been on our show before, and I don't know where I saw it, and I couldn't find it, where he was talking about his intentions to roll the taxes forward. And I wanted to find that, to be able to source that, to be able to say that it was accurate and I wasn't making a mistake. And I may be mistaken. And if I am, somebody please point it out. But that the sheriff's office intentions was to roll it forward. And I hope I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm not. But he's having a meeting. It may have already happened, right? I
Well,
can't
let's
read that
see.
date. It's
Will
blurry.
be held on Monday, September the 9th. So there's still time. Next Monday.
Yeah. So City of Bossier has decided they're not rolling forward. You've got a sheriff's office meeting here on, September the 9th. We would encourage people to go and voice your opinion on whether or not. Now, the school board, I didn't have time to go and look that up, but I did. And if you'll go to now cut 20.
Okay. Let's see. Let me change screen. Let me get rid of that city announcement. And let me pull up cut number 20, which was sent to us via Benton Town Happenings. Amy Altman made sure that we saw this. She posted it and also commented and tagged us in it. Her September the 3rd update today, she says, I was advised the police jury will not make a decision without the AG's opinion. The AG will be writing up her opinion on the matter, and we should have it in 2 weeks. Therefore, I've requested that the police jury postpone having the subject added to their agenda until further notice. I will keep everyone updated here when I know more. We are hoping to have all our ducks in a row before calling SB 127 to be put on the agenda so that we can get a straightforward answer from the police jury. And so this is in reference to SB 127 and rolling forward or not their millage. Now, does everybody remember what SB 127 is?
Now, I think that's the one with like first responders and public safety people getting a little bit of an exemption. It wasn't like 100% exemption, but it was an increase of a certain amount, if I recall correctly.
Yes, it is, and I'm no expert on it. I mean, I've read over the deal, and everybody and their brother has sent it to us twice over and tagged us in posts, and Proton mailed it, and regular emailed it, and I think I saw a carrier pigeon landing in my yard a few minutes ago to bring me a paper copy of it to make sure that we're aware of this. I will also say that the comment section on some of our posts on our Facebook page has, let's just say, been very active over this very issue about whether or not first responders or any groups for that matter should get an exemption.
Well, oh, you said you clarified it for me there when you said any group, and I haven't read the comments. Look, I apologize. I used to, when we first started this show, I used to go back. I watched every show. I went back through all of the comments, but I don't know, somewhere about 100 shows, I was like, look, I
That's a
got to
lot
have
of
something
comments.
else.
Yeah.
I gotta have more. I gotta have a life outside of just doing this crap all the time. But at the end of the day, to everybody that thinks that they deserve or should get the exemption, I mean, politicians think they deserve another term, that
Well,
their service to date, they're owed another term. Do you, do you,
you're
do y'all
trying to
agree with?
get me started again.
I'm not. I'm not trying to bait you, but I'm just trying to prompt people to think. Even the people that may benefit
Right,
from
okay.
some of these things.
I
I
gotta
gotta say it.
I gotta go to Darby's comment a couple of city council meetings ago. I don't have it queued up at all, but I'm sure
Well,
folks will remember that
look,
comment. What? Can
Chris
I not
Chris
make fun
Davis.
of Darby?
No, you can make fun of Darby all day long, and I'm see the amateurs coming out here because I'm trying to
Okay.
start talking to enable you to find it. I thought you were trying to find it,
I'm
but
not even
you're
worried
not.
about finding it. I'm just going to drag my soapbox over here for a second and kind of prop up on my soapbox and kick back in my chair while I'm waiting for my continuance. But
But
look, Darby made this comment and it just irked me that, and I'm paraphrasing, but only slightly, that in his soliloquy against term limits, he mentioned the fact that, they were serving the public and that he alluded to it being something like military service or whatever. And I hate to tell you, Darby, neither you nor any other politician had a gun held to your head to force you to go into office and sit in the damn air conditioning and make decisions and ignore your constituents half the time. Nobody held a gun to your head to make you do that. So don't act like you're some higher status person. We should hold you to a higher standard, but not a higher status. You aren't any higher up on the proverbial ladder than any of the rest of us are. All right. Soapbox
you
off.
said higher standard, not higher status.
Correct.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
I made that up on the fly right before the show, to be clear.
Well, I mean, look, and there's some folks from Caddo watching. I just saw somebody from Caddo that made
Oh,
a
Lord.
comment, and it didn't pop up in here in Restream, but Restream. See, I'm losing my mind here, but
Okay.
this applies to Caddo. It applies to government across the board, and why is it that these elected officials? Why is it that, and even public service, and when I say public service, I'm meaning the people who do make sacrifices. And I'm talking about the police and I'm talking about the fire. And I'm not saying that your service is less. I'm talking about the military as well too. I'm not saying that your sacrifice or your service, but we chose those careers. I was one, so I can say it,
Thank
and
you.
I think by virtue of being it, I have an obligation to say what needs to be said. If I showed up at the chicken place to get a meal, oh, you're a fireman. Let us give you that discount. Should I go up there and demand to get my discount if they didn't offer because I'm owed it?
See, that's a good
You know,
point.
I'm saying it, and we're losing our government, we're losing our way of life because we're propping people up, and we shouldn't be. I mean, we have to hold
Oh,
ourselves.
You're not making any friends, Mr. Lowry, but because you were a
I'm not here to make
firefighter, you can
friends.
say this.
Well, I have to. The same as if you're in the military, it's your responsibility to stand up and say, you know, about what's wrong with the parts of the military where it benefits. I mean, I can't speak to that. It's your responsibility. You're the one that's supposed to hold. If I see the fire truck or the ambulance going and doing something that they shouldn't be doing, whose responsibility should it be to stand up and say something? If I'm a fireman, I should be the first in line to do it. If it's a police department, it should be a policeman first in line. But if it's an elected official and a councilman or the mayor, it should be all of us.
Yeah.
Every
They're elected.
single one of us.
They volunteered to run, and then we, unfortunately, in the case of some of them, elected them.
Nobody put a gun to any of those people's heads and demanded that they run for office. Nobody.
That's right. Much
was
less
a
stay there for
choice.
20 plus years in the air conditioning.
And now, some way, shape, form, or fashion, we're beholden to them. Some way, shape, form, or fashion, we serve them. Bull crap.
Hey, this is kind of a little squirrel moment here, but I was in Shane's Seafood over there on Texas Street. Oh, this is months ago. Anyway, there was a state trooper in there, and he was in line ahead of me and the friend of mine that we were in there eating lunch with. And my buddy says, hey, I'd like to pay for his meal, just out of being nice. And do you know the state trooper turned around and said, no, I can't accept that. Legally, I can't. I appreciate it, but legally, I can't accept that. Now, I think there is a statute or whatever, an ethics deal where they can't. Somebody correct me, or if you can, because I'm not firing on all 8 cylinders tonight, look it up and see. But I just thought about that. And then I thought, when you mentioned the discounts, that's what triggered that memory. Well, what's the difference in paying for somebody's meal and getting a discount?
Oh, Jerry Castellani is on fire.
Uh-oh,
She
here
is
we go.
on fire.
Let's see, the first comment or the second? All right. Disunity is a strategy. So if you pit and divide citizens into sections with exceptions, you are halfway to successfully thwarting a democratic process. Nor should public servants be owed employment. Serving is a choice and an obligation.
Bingo.
It is
Hell
a
to the
choice.
yeah. Hell to the yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
going to give you and I'm fixing to make Chris Davis and the Popo happy.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I would argue that keeping the Popo, divided and against each other for all these years has benefited the city.
That's true. They can kind of hold their thumbs down on them even further. While
Yeah.
cheerleading during meetings that they support the police and they back the blue, and we should always support our first responders and our brave policemen and firemen, all the while they just don't give you simple raises. It's so easy.
Okay.
All right.
I got to tell you, I don't know where it is. I shared a link. Maybe it was to you. I don't know where. I shared a link to somebody, and there was a story, and it was talking about, and it was telling about how government begins to fail and how the downfall begins. And it was talking about how, and it was specifically breaking down in government from federal government level all the way down to the local level. And it was talking when it begins to start falling apart is when your government can't fund and can't support the things that its citizens primarily want, which in Bossier, it's always has been a I hate to say a demand, but an expectation that we have a police department that can do their job and a fire department that can do their job, and can be effective in both. And we find ourselves today in Bossier where we're losing on the police department. We've got the fire department covered, but we're losing on the police end of it. And, I have a letter that the FOP sent out here recently. I don't have it queued up and I don't have it ready. It's just we're kind of going off notes here. We're
Right.
not following our notes and going off script a little bit here, but they were specifically talking about how that they've lost their faith in the Bossier City Council. And they say that some of the first things to go are going to be the things that your citizenry wants primarily, which is public safety first. And we're seeing that right now with the Bossier City Popo. They're not paying them, and they're losing people.
Yeah, that is very true. And again, I go back to it's very simple. All they have to do is do an ordinance and reading and second reading and all that crap that they do and give them a raise. It's not difficult. They could do it. I mean, look, they're already borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, so they may as well borrow just a little bit more and give everybody a raise. Be like the Oprah Winfrey show. You get a new car, and you get a new car, and you get a new car. All y'all get a new car.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They're not borrowing to do that. They're borrowing to start projects that will enable the engineers to make their percent off of the construction that however much money they make. They're borrowing to have projects to where, people can write insurance and make insurance money off of those things, or commissions or what have you.
And
They're
monuments to
borrowing
themselves.
that so property can be sold and commissions can be made off of property sales. I mean, look,
The list goes on.
I could literally piss off while I have all my dogs barking in the background.
Careful.
I
The
could
popo
piss
might
off
be showing up.
the black helicopters and the
They have
jump out
landed.
boys are here. They're
Yeah.
here. But I mean, look, there's too many people feeding at the trough. Way too many.
Right. All
I'll
right.
just leave it
So
at that.
let's get back to the topic at hand, because we got way off on a tangent there, but it's all related. So here's the interesting thing. I need to get Jeff Sadow's input, but first I want to put up his comment. Jeff Sadow says that is correct. Us state employees cannot accept gifts from the public merely as a result of our status as a state employee. For us educators, there is an exception for gifts from students that are low value. Yeah, but don't discounts qualify as a gift? I mean, I'm splitting hairs here, but all right. Also, Jeff Sadow, somebody explain this part of SB. What is this? SB 127, now Act 179. It says, and I quote the highlighted portion. This is on the first responders tax exemption. It says to require taxing authorities to absorb the loss of revenue as a result of the exemptions. So to me, that's going counter to the normal roll forward process, which is where they roll the taxes forward to make up for whatever lost revenue, from the year prior. As kind of, I probably butchered that explanation, but as we talked about with Bobby, it sounds to me like they're saying, no, the taxing authorities, for instance, the police jury, should just eat that. I mean, they just lose that little bit of revenue.
Well, they're not going to eat it. How it will be ate is the loss of services to everybody else. Even the people that, are going to be getting that benefit, it'll be the loss of services. That's how that works.
Well, what are they going to do? Cut the parish water off or sewage off?
It's kind of like that teacher deal, and that tax deal, like, oh, y'all, all the teachers vote for this tax thing so you can get this, so much raise. But oh, by the way, the percent of taxes you're going to pay on that little bit of raise, you'll be getting a raise of virtually zero. How do you like them apples? Now that ain't exact numbers. I'm being comical here, but I mean, isn't that the point?
Yeah. I mean, I arguably maybe we don't need quite as many services from the police jury.
Arguably, we don't need as many services from government in general. Period.
What are those? Wait a minute.
What are the police? I might have to fight you over getting this word in.
What are those police jury guys that drive around in the little Tahoes or Blazers or whatever they are, the weights and measures police jury guys? We've talked about this before. Isn't that like a double whammy? Don't we already have weights and standards from the state?
Okay, yeah, we do. We've got like a DOT division with the state. Yeah, you've got that. I mean, but the parish and each parish found it as another source of revenue to create their own divisions to go out and hustle. But their justification.
Did you say hustle or?
I did say hustle. I did.
Oh, that was a nice way to put it. But yeah.
I mean, their validation. Their validation is that you have all of these companies that are using the resource, which is the road, paid for by taxpayers as well as business with heavy equipment, and that they're using more than what they pay for. And so it's a regulatory type thing.
Okay.
But I would contend that, because look, I'm an old oil field service guy. I've got trucks, had trucks all over the road. I pay the heavy highway use tax. I pay all those fuel taxes. I pay all that crap to be able to use all that stuff. But then you got these guys out there hustling you for more money. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, that's again, hustle is nicer than extortion. But isn't the police jury itself exempt from like the over the weight standards and all that?
well, yeah, the
Oh,
government bodies are exempt from all of that themselves. But
so they
but
can
let me
haul around and destroy the roads all they want.
But let me give y'all an example of how this works. In Bossier City, I think it was maybe the last council meeting, there was some dialogue that was taking place regarding, I think it was Halliburton. And there is a dispute about the amount of taxes that Halliburton paid and the assessment. And they've been fighting Bossier City. Well, the the point to me is do you realize, and a lot of y'all will remember this in Bossier City as an example, and you don't have to be in Bossier City for this to apply. You could be in Caddo, in Shreveport, you could be in Monroe, you could be in Baton Rouge, you could be wherever. But if your local government starts harassing some of the large employers, guess what? They could pick up and leave overnight. So trivia question to all of you Bossier folks. Do y'all remember the day that there used to be a Slumberjay yard in Bossier?
Yeah, it was pretty big. It wasn't far from me. Wasn't it just south of 220 off of Shed Road?
That's right. That's right. And guess what? They got tired of it and they picked up and left town and they're not here no more. So now, fast forward however many years, and some of the same group are now going at it with Halliburton.
Mm.
So
Yeah, let's
I,
run
I'm
Halliburton off. Good job, guys.
Yeah, run Halliburton off too. And I think, and I may be mistaken, and by all means, if the king or the queen or whoever wants to correct me, that's fine. You're more than welcome to, because I very well could be wrong, and I'll eat my words. But I mean, the majority of Halliburton's equipment over there, what do y'all see when you go by the Halliburton yard? It's movable equipment. It's trucks and trailers. They're in and they're out. They're in and they're out. They're not there. So if the tax question is in regards to the quantity of trucks or trailers that I would contend 99% are not even registered in Louisiana, they're registered in other states because Louisiana is so jacked up and backwards regarding their taxes. I mean, when y'all go out on the road, notice the trucks, look at the license plates on the trailers, and you're not really going to see the ones on the trucks because they're on the front. But notice the trailers. You'll find that almost all of them are registered in Texas and or Oklahoma. They're not going to be Louisiana. Why do you think that is?
Hmm.
Why do you
Hmm.
think that is?
Maybe they don't like being hustled by the local government
M-
or the state.
maybe so. Anyway,
Hmm.
again, we are way off track.
Yeah, we are.
Um,
We'll
because
try to straighten back up.
if we don't get to it, I will have wore this stupid hat for no reason whatsoever.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that here in a second. So Jeff Sadow says the theory behind the amendment, talking about the SB 127, was it would serve as an extra form of compensation that would not be fobbed off on the taxpayers. But there are surreptitious means by which a government could subvert that. Rolling forward is just such a tactic. So, that little clause in there where it says basically the parish entity would have to eat the tax that or eat the exemption. Jeff Sadow saying that's not necessarily true. They could use the roll forward processing, try to get around that. And if we didn't disagree with it or you taxpayers didn't like that, you'd have to sue the police jury, which costs, I don't know, $1,000 or whatever, $800 you got to pay the clerk of court to sue.
Well, speaking of suing and being in court, I mean, 9 times out of 10, that deck is stacked against you. 9 times out of 10, the
Especially at the
court,
26 JDC.
it's not going to go your way. I mean, I don't know. I consider the justice system a part of our governance. It is. I mean, it's one of the three branches. And I don't know that it works on your behalf. There's a few cases where it has. James Dooley, for an example. A lot of people may not know this. Mr. Dooley himself took on the city of Bossier some many, many years ago and prevailed. I mean, he was a trendsetter. A lot of folks watching the show they wouldn't know this. They wouldn't know that history. He knows it. I know it. But he kicked Bossier City's teeth in and
Wow.
did well.
So he's asking, explain to me who pays for the outside attorneys in lawsuits that the parish loses. Why, gosh, I can answer that. The parish pays for it. And the parish is funded by whom? Magical beans and fairies?
The parish gets their money where?
Fairy
That
dust.
tree in the backyard?
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
that's right.
they get their money from, well, taxes like all bodies do. Okay. So yeah, even if they lose or if they win, we're paying for it either way. All right. Let's try to get back on track.
So recently, y'all know Wes Marriott. Wes Marriott, with Sobo Live. I mean, he's been on this show. Wes is someone who shares content and information with us. I would contend that Wes works with us in a professional capacity, regarding trying to have transparency in government and better government. I mean, because that's what all of this is about. And we do this show. Like I said, we don't make a living off this. We lose money as a result of this. At least I do anyway. I don't know about you, but we try to encourage public, input, activity, all the like. I think Marriott does the same, but Marriott takes it to a little bit of a different level. He's engaging in lawsuits and all that stuff. I think it's a pretty understood thing about us. We push the envelope, and I think all local government feels pretty confident they don't have to worry about us filing lawsuits, right?
No, so
Because
far they don't have to.
yeah, we work at things from a different angle. It's because to us, when we ask for something and they refuse to give it to us, that says all that needs to be said right there. That they're hiding. Period.
Either way. Look, our job, and we feel that we are pretty good at it, is to stir the pot. We've done that from day one.
We've been accused of that countless times.
And look, we'll wear it with a badge. We need to have badges made that say pot stirrers.
But
to put it nicely.
But Wes, yeah, absolutely. But Wes, on the other hand, Wes doesn't just take that. And I don't disagree with Wes. Wes is wanting to force these questions into the public sphere because it could be any one of you guys tomorrow that you go to the council meeting, whether it be Shreveport, whether it be Bossier, whether it be Plain Dealing, Halton, Monroe, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lafayette. It could be anywhere that your speech is silenced because of a elected official, a benevolent overlord believes that your speech is boisterous or it's
That's
disturbing
such a
or
subjective term.
all that crap. But somebody at the end of the day, somebody has to fight and make the argument. And Rex, I had this on my own. I say days off since our last show. I had a conversation with somebody, and they'll know who it is because they're watching the show. And they came asking me, and they came to me and they said, look, what do I need to do? And and I'm like, what do you mean? What do you need to do? And it's like, what do I need to do? I watched your show and you're talking about all this stuff. It's like, how do I find this? Or what's the answer to this? Or what's the answer to that? And I said, look, because I set my phone down. I don't know about you, but I set my phone down and I have to step away because it consumes you. It consumes all your time. If I held my phone in my hand 24 hours a day, all I would do is talk politics every single day. And I damn near do that already, but
Right.
I would never get anything done. And I said to him, I said, you just have to go ask a question. That's all you need to do is just go question things. You just need to go ask questions. That's what you need to do.
Mhm.
And I wasn't trying to be mean, but what I was trying to say is when you go ask a question and you're given the answer, probably the answer is not going to be clear. Then you're going to have another question. And then that question is going to be, well, why did they say that? What does that mean? And it snowballs from there. It snowballs from there. One question leads to another.
Leads to another, leads to another, and leads to another.
But in the case of Wes Marriott, some people, and I would contend that people are at different levels. Wes Marriott is at a level where he's questioning things at an extreme level and taking them to court. And that's where it ultimately ends up. And in this case, if y'all recall, Bossier City, they adopted new rules of decorum, as they called it, where they limited the speakers to 3 per issue, and they limited the time. And they also had a secret meeting that nobody knew about, which we showcased on the show.
Which got shared out on the regular dinosaur media too, by the way.
And Wes filed a lawsuit, and it was 40 something 8 pages, and I'm not going to do Val Baker says lots of word salad. Yeah, okay. I don't know if you're talking about us, but I would contend, a lot of word salad here.
We warned y'all.
But Wes took it up there, and we highlighted a couple of pieces. There's a ruling that come out on Wes's case. Now, I would contend, y'all recall, Wes had a case seeking the communications of the princess. What do we want to call him? The queen. The queen's what we call him. The queen or the king. Anyway, Councilman Montgomery. Wes had a case where he sought the records of Councilman Montgomery and his communications at a specific time frame in the Red Rover incident, which is still in litigation, as we understand the council or the city, not the council, is trying to settle that case, but where Wes tried to get the phone records of Councilman Montgomery because he wasn't using his city-issued cell phone to do city business, and he was using his personal phone. But yet we went to court, or he went to court, and the court ruled that he basically didn't have any rights to get that phone records.
Right.
Was that
Yeah.
was that correct? I mean,
well, because they couldn't, to quote Richard Ray, easily get the phone records. Remember, I've said that ad nauseum.
okay, so now, if you're an elected benevolent overlord, if you want to do city business or government business, let me say it that way. If you want to do government business and you don't want it to be in the public eye, all you have to do is do it on your personal mobile device and say that you can't easily get the records.
Right.
That's all you have to do. And Ruth Pope Johnson, good point. All you have to do is force it to go to court to the 26th JDC, and voila, you don't have to produce no records.
Yeah.
No transparency in government.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, though. This lawsuit that I've got up on the screen, which we'll talk about here in a second, this one was actually in the U.S. District Court, Western District, over in Shreveport. Isn't that correct?
Federal court.
Okay.
It was a suit filed in federal court. And I went through and I highlighted a few things out of all these pages, and we will share out this ruling, and I will say that I understand that this will be being appealed. I think maybe is at the Fifth Circuit. Anyway, but I'm going to read a few pages, and then we're going to show y'all the ruling in this case, and then we're going to show y'all a couple of clips and comparison contrast, you might say. And y'all tell us whether you think, the viewpoint of the judicial system and what actually transpired, whether they're, does it jive? Does it G-haul, you might say?
Okay. So I've got cut one up on the screen. I think it's live. Let me scroll up here. So we have highlighted this portion that talks about audience bans and speaker limits in, I'm guessing, the city council meeting, correct?
Correct. This was where they were talking about, limiting the speakers, the quantity of speakers, and the length of time. And the lines that I highlighted there, at this stage of the litigation, Marriott's allegations are sufficient to plausibly state an overbreadth claim, as they potentially implicate a substantial amount of constitutionally protected speech in a manner that is reasonable in light of the public comment period's purpose. Basically, this was the only positive part of this ruling, and I felt, that was protecting, or favoring Wes. I mean, and it was basically saying that, the limiting of the quantity of speakers and the length of time, was potentially limiting constitutionally protected speech. But go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so this is the court saying this, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But you see there, the last little part that I have, however, there's that however. Nothing in these cases indicates that such discretion is limitless. Well, basically they were saying that the city council would have the discretion to limit speech, but they were acknowledging that it's not limitless. They can't they have no limits to what they can do. They are limitations, but it doesn't define any of what the limits are. So to me, this basically gives local government the ability to basically censor or shut down or limit however much speech that they want. Is this what any of you expect out of your government? Government is supposed to serve you, not the other way around. I mean, anytime you're trying to limit speech, this is just an extension of limiting speech.
Here's the scenario. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that the city was going to roll forward their millages. A bunch of people got pissed off, who were already pissed off about their assessments and values of their homes and property and business property going up, thus increasing the total amount of taxes they have to pay. And let's say that, 50 people lined up to speak at the city council meeting in opposition to rolling forward the millages.
Not in Bossier City.
Yeah. So you can't do that in Bossier City. Now, I will agree that there should be...
Oh, no, they can, because a federal judge just said that they can.
Well, I would agree that there need to be some limitations. So, for instance, let's go back to our scenario of 50 people sign up to speak against it, that the government body should be able, in fairness to everybody that wants to speak, set a time limitation. For instance, 3 minutes is pretty much the norm. 3 times 50 is 150, so that's over 2 hours, 2.5 hours, as a matter of fact, if my math is right, of people speaking. That makes a big statement to the government body.
Well, it makes a statement. It makes a statement, but why are we here? Why are we here at this precipice? We're here because all of the people watching this show, not all of the people, y'all know when I say everybody watching the show, I'm meaning everybody else, because we're only here together tonight watching the show, thinking and talking about this issue. We're a small minority of people, but it's because we have all enabled our government to get to this level. And it's not just Bossier City, it's all of our government. We have enabled all of our government to get to a point to where they've forgotten that they're servants. They're servants of all of us, that we're the bosses. And it's all of our faults for enabling that.
Oh yeah, you can't
Right?
blame it on them. You know, what's that old saying about power and corruption and all that? James Dooley makes another good comment. The McCormicks are getting mistreated by the parish. They won their court case in Benton and are being taken to the Louisiana Supreme Court. These people are crazy as a run-over dog, referring to the police jury.
But just like in that case right there, there's no consequence to the elected officials or to the parish attorney or to the government people. There's no consequence to them because monetary, there's
Right.
no loss to them. They're not losing the damn thing because you know what? It's all of us, the taxpayers. It's every one of us are having to pay for it, and they're using our money to do it. And
Yeah.
there's a large percent of you out there that these are your friends and you've just checked out. You don't even pay attention to them abusing, your relationship. Y'all
Yeah.
don't even pay attention. I was
A-
talking about
and-
this to somebody today. I was
well,
talking. People have checked out. I'll give you an example. I'm sorry, Rex.
no, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
gotta share this. I can literally share on Facebook. I used to thought it was Facebook censoring. At one time it was, but I don't think it's the case anymore. I can share some lovey-dovey photo of me and the family or something else, and 100 people will love it. But let me share one truth in politics, and hardly anybody likes it. Why is
Well,
that?
no. Well,
Why is that? It's because people have checked out. They don't want to have to engage on the politics. They've just checked out. Let somebody else handle it. Let
yeah,
somebody
but
else deal with it. I'm
look,
not going to be a part of that.
here's the irony of all that. If we did a show and talked about all the great things that the city council and the police jury was doing, which I would argue are limited, nobody would watch this show. We tried it a couple of times, jokingly, but we tried it.
Rebecca Watley says, or you get attacked. You know what, Rebecca? If somebody attacks you, I mean, then that's one thing. If you were doing something like, let's say, I don't know, that may be a bad example. I don't know. I'm just,
Well, we've been attacked.
Yeah, we've been attacked. But you know what?
Anonymous
wait a minute.
Facebook profiles and comments, and let me warn everybody, our tolerance for that is almost zero now. We're very lenient in the comments. I don't think we've ever had to ban or delete a comment. We're very liberal, to use the term in a good
That's right.
way, in allowing comments as long as everybody stays relatively civil. That's kind of subjective. But we want robust commentary.
I don't have to agree with you to even continue to have dialogue with you. I would say this, on this show, Juliana Parks, we have been more critical of her probably than any other elected official. And it's primarily because of the positions that she takes. We disagree with her positions. We disagree with her, I would say, philosophy and the way that she's trying to mold government in Bossier, because I think it's antithetical to a Republican way of government. I think it's more aligned with a socialist type of government. With all of that said, which that's basically saying I think she is the worst of politicians that there is imaginable. With all of that said, you know what? I could still sit down with her and I could still have a conversation with her, and I would still try to make her see why she's wrong. I mean, that dialogue doesn't stop. It doesn't. It would be hard. I'm not saying it'd be easy. I know you're laughing, Rex.
There are certain people I could do that with. She ain't one of them.
But she would never. But the problem is she would never ever
No.
agree that
Yeah.
she's wrong. She can never admit she's wrong. That is the problem.
That is
Ever.
the problem. An entitled little princess. All right, enough about Juliana before we get on our soapbox about that. There was a thought I wanted to put out there, but so here's the deal. If you're going to comment on this show, on any topic or any post that we put out there, then your Facebook profile needs to be relatively recognizable. Let me sort of walk the fence on that. In other words, if you want to send us something anonymously, or you want to share information with us or whatever, there's Proton Mail for that. If you're going to comment on the show, your profile needs to be not something that you made, some fake profile you made up 15 minutes ago. Because here's the deal. Duke and I, everything we say and do, like we say nearly every week, no takebacks. It's all out there since day one. And
Yeah.
We've been attacked. We've been threatened, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So the one thing that we require is no anonymous postings. If you're going to post, be relatively non-anonymous.
Yeah, we're off on rabbit
Relatively.
trails. I was
Yeah,
going
I
to go
know.
there a little bit, but I'm going to leave it alone.
Okay.
So back to the Marriott case. Let's keep going to cut to.
Yep.
And
All right.
let's get going there. And we're showing you these to kind of give you a different view on questions regarding, your government, because this is what it boils down to. It's about your government and your rights, being able to go and speak and talk and all of this. And, the legislative branch and the judicial branch, a lot of people don't think or talk that way. I would think that a lot of our audience, we don't think in the context of the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. We just don't think that way. Lawyers, legislators, and executive branch people, they all think in these terms, in these ways, but we don't think in these ways. But here you have a case where Wes Marriott is making, and he's asking these questions because you had Bossier City that were doing a lot of things, to basically their actions are to limit speech. They're trying to limit the public and your ability to say things and question and do. And in this one here, let's see, I have to read it myself to remember why I highlighted this portion as I was skimming through it. You want to read it?
Sure. Governmental entities establish limited public forums by opening property limited to use by certain groups or dedicated solely to the discussion of certain subjects. However, the government may not discriminate against speech on the basis of viewpoint or content in these forums, and restrictions must be reasonable in light of the purpose served by the forum. That's the Good News Club, the Milford, whatever, and it cites the court case there.
So let me give y'all an example. However, the government may not discriminate against speech on the basis of viewpoint or content in these forums, and restrictions must be reasonable in light of the purpose of the served forum. So if you, let's say they were having something in the city of Bossier regarding the budget, and the budget for the year encompassed part of monies that were having to be spent regarding the settlement with the Link Coleman lawsuit. And you got up to speak and you said, due to the Link Coleman lawsuit and the depositions given by Councilman Montgomery and as soon as you said that, the city council objected and the city attorney and shut you down. Your speech has stopped. and they have stopped your speech. Now, was your speech relevant to the subject matter being discussed, which was the budget? And the budget included portions of the Link Coleman settlement. And because David Montgomery is
Well,
at a viewpoint, it's
a prime
great. So,
a prime example of that was the last city council meeting, which we played, I think, in the last show, played the section. So again, we don't have it queued up, not going to play it tonight. But the point at which Montgomery and West got into their little tizzy and tit for tat, and then Bubba Don tag teamed in Jacobs, and Jacobs chastised, kind of issued a veiled threat to West that he was borderline slander. Well, the reason Jacobs said, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, borderline, is because he knew that the bar for public officials is much higher, and therefore none of what West said was untrue and wasn't in the realm of slander or slanderous speech. But he wanted to issue that little veiled threat out there to him to try to have a chilling effect.
but this judge in this case obviously is, in my personal opinion, is detached from reality. He's obviously not watched council meetings in Bossier and how they are handled and how they treat people who speak. But I think that any speech that is critical of existing council members or that describes or mentions their role in activities within Bossier City government is subjected to intimidation. You know, it is limited based on viewpoints. That is my opinion, and that's what I've seen. And right here in this ruling, this judge even acknowledges, however, the government may not discriminate against speech on the basis of viewpoint. Well, I've seen exactly that. Well, what exactly is discriminate? Is that taking away time, the amount of time that the benevolent overlords say that you have the ability to say your 2 cents? Is it right for them to even limit you in the amount of time that you can say your 2 cents? Let me ask all of y'all. Can you in 3 minutes articulate the disagreement that you had with your wife or your spouse or husband this morning when you got up out of bed about the honeydews that either or had to do? Can you articulate all of those in 3 minutes? Can you?
That's
I mean, can you spit them
probably
out? Is it
probably not. Probably not.
how? If you can't do that, how in the hell do you expect to be able to articulate a difference in your local government that you may have? What's the purpose of even being able to go to speak at local government bodies? It's to go, is it to go up there and tell them how great a job they're doing? Is it to go up there and tell them, oh, y'all are doing great. I appreciate what you're doing and I support you 100%. Good job. Are you going to take 3 minutes to do that? No. I mean, it's going to take you more than 3 minutes to go up there and disagree. But yet, for some reason, we're going to limit that speech that you disagree to 3 minutes. Y'all see what I'm talking about? Government is upside down. It's freaking backwards. And who enables all of this? It's us by these elected, I'm going to use my word, jackwagons that
Hey,
we
you hadn't
keep
used that in
putting
a
in
while.
there that don't respect all of y'all. I mean, they serve you and then they turn right around and they're limiting you. They hate us. I don't care. Somebody asked me, they was like, dude, why you keep doing what you're doing? And I'm like, I don't give a damn anymore. I could care less whether they like me or not. I don't care. I'm at that point in my life where I'm going to say what I think. And I thank the good Lord we have this platform to be able to say what we want to say and say that we disagree with them.
Right.
And there's nothing limited all of y'all. I mean, there's 100 to 150 people, and I don't know the exact number, watching this show right now. There is nothing stopping any of y'all Not a damn thing. The only thing stopping you is you. That's it.
Don't let them intimidate you. All right.
Cut
Okay,
three.
so that's cut 3. Let me see where
I'm going
we're
to
at.
stop. I know it's me getting us off on this
Hey,
tangent.
that's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
It's all right. Like I
Got me
said,
wound up.
you got to have the saddle on tonight because I am just not full of vinegar like I usually am. All right.
I got to speed us up because we did not get a continuance on this show tonight. I'm sorry.
No,
We did
my
not.
continuance was not granted. Darn it. Okay.
Yeah. So the
well,
council does not uniformly enforce public comment rules. I think that was one of the charges that Wes made.
right.
And I would agree they don't uniformly. I mean, hell, what about they read at the beginning of every
Well,
freaking meeting about your cell phones and crap? And what did David Montgomery do? He had his phone going off and and playing down Enya, and he says somebody hacked his phone.
but
And then he wrote Brian Hammonds into it to agree. Yeah, that's Enya. Somebody did hack your phone. He says, I can see you as being a Metallica guy or something.
well, that's because David has a higher status, not a higher standard. Well, and look, another good example, and I think I mentioned this last show, so I won't belabor the point, is the fact that Wes and the Queen got into a tizzy over his mentioning of David's name. I mean, I guess they all think they're Beetlejuice on the city council or something. You can't mention their names. What did Robert Wright do in his little comment period? He used David Montgomery as an example. Did they apply the same standard to Robert Wright? Nope, not at all. You can just go back and watch the meeting. Nothing against Robert Wright. His comments were great. Not picking on him, but the same standard was not applied from one commenter to another.
Yeah, no doubt. So finishing what Wes, this part of this ruling here, citizens who take positions with which members disagree are silenced and told their comments are off limits, even when their comments are clearly linked to agenda items and matters of public concern. Matters of public concern. I know how that goes because I personally filed a matter of public concern, a letter with all these councilmen, maybe 15, 20 plus years ago that was truly a matter of public concern. Okay, I'm going to refrain from saying what I was fixing to say. You don't often see me bite my tongue, but I just did.
That's
Therefore, Marriott has failed to sufficiently allege the existence of a custom so widespread and persistent that it constitutes municipal policy. What do you think about
Right.
that?
So widespread and persistent. I mean, all you got to do is go watch our show. We highlight many of those things. Go back and
but-
watch the public meetings.
But this judge is saying that it doesn't happen, is what or maybe he's saying he or she. I don't even know if it's a he or she. I don't know who the judge is.
Judge
Therefore,
Terry
Marriott-
Doughty and Magistrate Judge Kayla McCluskey.
Yeah, I don't know, but Marriott has failed to sufficiently allege the exist. So maybe they're saying that he failed to say that there's the existence of a custom, that
He's
constitutes
failed to
policy.
allege that. I'm pretty sure that's what his whole lawsuit was about, was alleging the existence of this crap. The grammar doesn't even make sense there, but I digress.
Look, and I'm no lawyer, and I am a bona fide Rhodes Scholar of Stupidville, but I'm thinking he went to this effort to file this crap for some reason, and I'm thinking that reason is because he's alleging these things have happened.
All right, so let's take a pause for a second. Cindy Ulrich has a valid question. So, what is the reason for giving your address each time you approach the podium, especially if you speak multiple times in one session? Well, that's a good question. So, the initial time that you give your address is just for the record. But I would agree that if you have to come up there multiple times, it's just to, take away from a few seconds from your time to speak.
Well, it's that, but it's also to entertain Juliana.
Hmm.
It depends on the forum.
Good safety point. All right. So shall we go to the next cut?
She may be going to do a drive-by or something that night. I don't know. I just, I'm on guard up at my camp.
I wonder when she rolls her houses if she's going to use pink toilet paper.
We're on Juliana watch up at my camp 24/7 all the time because I'm telling you,
she is up there kind of around your neck of the woods.
She concerns me as being unhinged. I don't trust that she's all there.
Yeah, I don't really either. Okay.
I'm just saying. I'm telling you.
All right, cut number 4.
I know somebody's going to be offended. Anyway, here there are no allegations that the attendance of off-the-record meeting affirmatively committed, even provisionally, to voting one way or another on the resolution discussed. Now, Rex, y'all remember we broke it on this show. The secret meeting, remember?
Oh yeah.
We got anonymously the
audio of it, and a little transcription, and we posted a video of it.
That's right.
Which was used on the local news.
That's what we're talking about here. Y'all, a lot of y'all may remember that. Maybe they don't remember that. Maybe we need to play that real quick for everybody to refresh them as we go through these cuts.
Lo and behold, I just happen to have it queued up. If I can get to it, hold on just a second. Let me hit this button.
Do all of y'all in the comments, do y'all remember what we're talking about? The secret meeting? Do y'all remember?
Now, let's listen to the secret meeting just to refresh everybody's memory.
Phyllis, I want you to go ahead and do that change in the format. Change up the format of rules for council. We will give comments at the beginning of our agenda versus every time there's a comment. Because that's what they love, that they see that.
That's fine with me.
We want to change that.
Do we vote on that?
Yeah, let's change it.
So Free won't be here, so it's 4 to 2 enough?
Yeah, I want to change.
That's fine, because this is becoming, it's so disruptive, we become dysfunctional.
Yeah. It looks bad every time because it's out of control behavior and it's susceptible behavior. And these people that come in here, they feed on this stuff.
Well, I mean, and just David Crockett, he constantly goes over his time each time and nobody.
Sure.
Well, and he says the same thing.
Yeah.
And maybe that.
All I can say is to all the people of Bossier City, welcome to Shreveport.
Yeah, really.
Because that's what's going to happen.
Thank you, guys.
And remember, that was not an actual meeting.
Well, Shreveport got 50 Cent, and they had a big old party over there the other weekend, and we didn't even get invited.
No, we're stuck with Queen David.
Anyway, there's something else I could say, but anyway, that was a secret meeting, and to those of you
about 1 year ago, it was September the 7th of 2023, as a matter of fact.
Well, see, this proved it again. Rebecca Watley and Jerry Castellani, they said no, they didn't even know about this.
Yeah.
That goes to that point about covering old ground that we've covered before because not everybody hears about it. So what happened, guys, was after a regular council meeting, there was allegedly a secret meeting of councilmen where they decided that they were going to change the rules of decorum to where people couldn't speak, but for a certain amount of time, only so many speakers. And, they were going to tighten everything up to where, because what was happening was people were coming to the council meeting and talking about things that these councilmen didn't want people talking about, which included talking about them and their roles in specific activities, which in this case, in this suit that West Marriott had filed in federal court, was talking about this secret meeting. Because remember, when a public body makes decisions or they talk about actions that they're going to take or even votes that they take, they have to do it in an open meeting.
Correct. Otherwise, you have what's known as a walking quorum.
So here on this page that we're showing now, you see here there are no allegations that the attendance of the off-the-record meeting, that's what this judge is describing, is what we just played for you. that we broke the news, affirmatively committed, even provisionally, to voting one way or another on the resolution discussed. Now, y'all just heard it. Did it sound to you like they made a decision or committed affirmatively to something or not in this off the record meeting? Well, how did you hear it? Play it again, Rex.
All right, let's play it again. Hold on just a second.
And listen to this and think about it in the context. Did they affirmatively commit, even provisionally, to voting one way or another on the resolution discussed, or to the idea that they're talking about? Did they decide, or did they commit in any way?
All right, listen up.
Phyllis, I want you to go ahead and do that change in the format. Change out the format of rules for council. We will give comments at the beginning of our agenda versus every time there's a comment. That's what they love that. They see that.
That's fine with me.
We want to change that.
Do we vote on that?
Yeah, let's change it.
So Free won't be here, so it's 4 to 2 enough?
I want to change.
That's fine, because this is becoming, it's so disruptive, we become dysfunctional.
Yeah, it looks bad every time because it's out of control behavior and it's susceptible behavior. And these people that come in here, they feed on this stuff.
Well, I mean, and just David Crockett, he constantly goes over his time each time, and nobody.
Sure.
Well, and he says the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that.
All I can say is to all the people of Bossier City, welcome to Shreveport.
Yeah, really.
Because that's what's going to happen.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for
These people. You heard Darby. These people.
So y'all go back to the affirmatively committed, even provisionally. So did it sound to y'all? I'm just asking, did it sound to y'all like they affirmatively committed, even provisionally? Did it sound like decision making to y'all?
Yeah. To wit, the alleged conduct of Montgomery and the other attendees of the off-the-record conference does not constitute polling, as understood by the AG.
And look, we're y'all need to realize what we're doing here. Yeah, maybe this does not reach topsoil here. We're criticizing federal judges here, is what we're doing.
Who are lifetime appointed.
Maybe y'all don't realize the consequence of what we're doing here. I mean, there is a cost, but y'all answer the question.
Hey, shall we go to cut 5? Because cut 5.
No. We hadn't even got through all of the highlighted here. So let's keep reading. Rather, Montgomery is alleged to have asked whether a 4-2 vote would be sufficient to pass the resolution. He framed it that way, but was that his intent? Was he asking if a 4-2 vote would be sufficient, or was he polling of a 4-2 vote? My question is, how did he know it was going to be 4-2? How did he know who the two against were going to be? How did he know the two were going to be against? How did he know that? And I would ask the judges who ruled in this case, how do they know that Montgomery knew the 4-2 vote? How did he know that? They obviously knew the answer because, I mean...
He shook his magic 8-ball.
Well, let's keep reading here. This is a distinction with a legally significant difference, as Montgomery was merely asking whether a hypothetical vote count would be adequate, not making a decision that would render subsequent voting pro forma. How did he know that 2 people were going to vote against it, and 2 alone? How did they know that?
Good question. Inquiring minds want to know. I mean, we know.
You're,
I'm pretty sure most of the folks watching have a pretty good idea.
I'm just saying, all of you make your own opinion. You form your own opinion. We played the audio of the secret meeting, and you can form your opinion off of what you heard. I don't know if these judges have heard that or not, or if they listened to it, but they obviously know something because they stated it as a matter of fact about the 4-2 vote. So let's keep going. Montgomery and Darby counting if they would have enough members to make the resolution is similarly an exercise in assessing a potential vote rather than conducting one.
An exercise in assessing a potential vote. I'm going to start using it. This is just, we're doing an exercise in assessing something.
To wit, the alleged conduct of Montgomery and the other attendees of the off-the-record conference, off-the-record meeting, and off-the-record conference, off-the-record, what the hell else kind of meeting could you confab? What's some other terms to describe when people run into each other?
I mean, it's just a chance meeting that they were all in the same damn office having a meeting.
Yeah, does not constitute polling. I mean, good grief, guys. I mean, are you kidding me? It doesn't constitute that they were polling or they were counting heads or making a plan.
This wasn't a meeting in the elevator. Let's put it that way. It wasn't a chance meeting in the elevator type situation.
I'm going to pose this rhetorical question. Is this what so many sacrificed, the government that so many sacrificed for? Is this so that some people are unaccountable to the people? They're above them. They're not servants of the people. I mean, the people serve them. I'm disgusted by this. Let's go to the next cut and keep moving.
All right, here we go. So let me get rid
I'm
of that.
embarrassed by this.
Yeah, let me cut number. What are we on? Cut number 5. This is.
Oh yeah, the highlighted part, Rex.
Yes. Yeah, the whole highlighted part. You want me to read it or you got it? Either way.
Go ahead.
All right.
You're good.
As the attendees of the off-the-record conference did not act, vote, or receive new information as defined under the open meetings law, the gathering was not really a meeting under that law. It's not what it seemed. Because the off-the-record conference was not a meeting, it was not subject to regulation by the open meeting law. Accordingly, it is recommended that the motions be granted to the extent they seek dismissal of Marriott's claim that the off-the-record conference ran afoul of the open meeting law. What the hell?
Get that cut ready to play it one more time for everybody. As the attendees of the off-the-record conference or meeting or whatever y'all want to call it, not act, vote, or receive new information as defined under the open meetings law, the gathering was not a meeting under the law. Play it again.
Phyllis, I want you to go ahead and do that change in the format. Change up the format of rules for council. We will give comments at the beginning of our agenda versus every time there's a comment. Because that's what they love that. They see that.
That's fine with me.
We want to change that.
Do we vote on that?
Yeah, let's change it.
So Free won't be here, so it's 4-2 enough?
I want to change.
That's fine, because this is becoming,
it's
so disruptive, we become dysfunctional.
Yeah. it looks bad every time because it's out of control behavior and it's susceptible behavior. And these people that come in here, they feed on this stuff.
Well, I mean, and just David Crockett, he constantly goes over his time each time, and nobody.
Sure.
Well, and
You can stop. I mean, but my point is, look, we already know, and look, I'm just gonna say it. There's a lot of those judges up there in district court I like. There's some of them in the appeals court I like. There's federal judges I like. But my point is, our government, including our judicial system, we already know that it's broke, at the level of our councils, our police juries, our state government. We already know that's all broke, and we're all hopeful that our judicial system is going to get it right. But the reality is our judiciary is broke too. It is sick from the same thing that makes our local government sick as well too. I mean, we can't count on sound reasoned judgments from our district courts. We can't count on sound reasoned judgments from our, now in my opinion, we see from the federal court as well too. If they weren't in that secret meeting, which was a secret meeting held after a regular council meeting where they were making decisions to change the rules of how businesses transpired within a local government entity, if they weren't making freaking decisions, what the hell were they doing? And for a judge to say that's not what they were doing, a federal judge, I mean, good grief. I mean, we are screwed, folks. We are screwed. I mean,
Yeah. Don't believe what you see and hear. Believe what we tell you you saw and heard.
Maybe, just maybe, we may be better off that these damn Venezuelans or Hondurans or whatever, all these illegals come in. They might have a better idea, better government than us. They may. Because what we're doing is the most evil form of government. We're not acknowledging that we've got a problem. I don't know.
It's hard to argue with that. It really is.
So
we'll see. Yes, that was cut 5.
So, and if that ain't bad enough, let's move on let's continue the show.
Yes. Next subject, which is related kind of to the first subject, sort of.
Okay. So before we continue this, I got to ask y'all, there's still 100 to 150 of y'all hanging in there. Because here's the meat and potatoes of this show. This one's going to make y'all, this one's going to really make y'all mad. Do y'all think we have a problem? I mean, I'm just wondering, and do you think that we have a problem with our local governments trying to limit speech of citizens? And do you think it's right? Because there's a lot of you commenting, and we appreciate your comments, but I'm not hearing enough of y'all get out there on a limb and say one way or the other how you really feel. Do you think, I mean, a lot of you have been following the show. Do you feel like that government exposure has been fair to the citizens and that it's allowing citizens to have their speech, or do you think they're limiting it?
I got to say this. I'm not going to mention his name, but I had a conversation with a client of mine Friday who has been a client for several years. He's an attorney, and it's pretty obvious I'm relatively right wing, but I do have libertarian leanings. Matter of fact, I may lean more to the libertarian side for the last several years than actually the Republican side. So anyway, but this client and I, we never really discussed politics. We just discussed tech stuff and whatever. And he asked me out of the blue, he says, hey, what's going on with the term limits thing? And he was for term limits in some instances, against term limits in others, and that's fine. So we had a very interesting conversation. I said, look, it's really not about the term limits anymore. It's about them flat out refusing to follow the charter and thus the law in Bossier City. That's what it's about now. It's beyond the term limits. And he said, well, how are they getting around it? I said, they just voted down in the city council meetings. And he was like, they're doing what? I said, yeah, the charter says shall. As an attorney, you know that's an operative word. And they just voted down. They're not even trying to hide it. They're just out in the open. It's not about the term limits anymore. It's about following the law. And they just refuse to.
Yeah, well, as we all know, the law is not equally applicable to every citizen of this country. In fact, if you are, the more of a citizen you are, the more the law is applied. The less a citizen you are, the less the law is applied. That's the way that works.
Something about, what was that? Status, privilege, all those fancy terms, higher standards, not higher status, but some people do have a higher status than we do.
Yeah, so the only question, the only question is when it all starts falling apart. Okay, I'm not going to say that. I'll get labeled on the terrorist anti-watch list or some crap. Anyway, legislative continuances. How many of y'all?
Yes. That's the title of the show.
How many of y'all are familiar with legislative continuances?
Do you even know what those are? Honestly, I didn't know this was a thing till I read this lawsuit.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you know that if you were a legislator and you committed a crime and you were like, if you'll go down to the very bottom of that section, and I've got a link, item 8 and 9. Did you know that if you committed a crime and were subject to be arrested, that you couldn't be arrested? That you have privilege as being a legislator and you couldn't even be arrested? Did you know that?
I want to say I did know it, but I'd be lying.
Well, scroll down to, I think it's number 8 or 9. I think it's number 8. And then hone in real close to that for everybody. I want everybody to look close at this. I want you all to understand kind of what
privileges and immunities.
Yeah, number 8 right there. So
shall I read it?
Go ahead, read it to everybody.
Section number 8. A member of the legislature shall be privileged from arrest, except for felony, during his attendance at sessions and committee meetings of his house, and while going to and from them. No member shall be questioned elsewhere for any speech in either house. Except for felonies, though. You commit a felony, I guess you can still be arrested.
Now, Paul Johnson, I don't know for a fact. It's interesting that you write that, because somebody posed that question to me, that if you were, let's say, a legislator up here from Northwest Louisiana, and you decided you were late getting down to session, and you hooked it up to about 100 plus miles per hour, and you got pulled over, could they write you a ticket? I got to tell you, somebody conveyed to me that this law would enable you to not get a speeding ticket for hooking it up down the interstate to get to the legislative session.
That you'd be exempt. Maybe we should, let's see, what's our senator's name? Oh, that fishing guy, Adam Bass. Maybe we should get Adam Bass to test that theory. Next time he's headed down there, he could rip it down I-49 at about $1.50.
He really likes fishing for bass.
Does he?
Sea bass, that is.
Sea bass, yes. Adam Sea Bass.
He does like fishing for sea bass. He does.
All right. Conflicts of interest.
Well, anyway, let's not get off on a rabbit. Let's go back to the top. So,
okay.
back on point here. Legislative continuances. Now, to all the lawyers out there, y'all all know that, look, we're just regular guys. Again, my credentials are Rhodes Scholar of Stupidville. I don't know about Rex. He comes from Ruston. They got a whole different credentialing thing over there.
I can Google really well with the best of them.
Go to Ruston Rants to get your answer. That's all I can say. I don't know. But let's go to cut RS 1870. And the subject matter to which we're going to talk about here, it's not something that just happened yesterday. This is something that's been around a long freaking time.
All right, hold on. So I don't think we had, the cut's not actually in there. Give me just a second. So it's LARS 1870.
No. It's in the folder. They're all in the folder, and that's the name of them.
Is it in that folder?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I got it. Sorry. Oh,
yep.
Well, this is going to be fun. All right, hold on just a second. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do
burnishing
this.
Our amateur credentials here.
Hey,
so
it's a live show.
Wanted to share with you guys just how old the subject matter to which we're talking about here goes. And if I recall correctly, and if you scroll down through here, what is that? What is that number there at the bottom right there say?
I got to squint a little bit, but it looks like 1870. Just after the Civil War. That must have been during, what's that? Oh, Reconstruction.
Yeah. So this legislative continuance law for attorneys dates back to the 1800s. It's been on the books for a long time. So the fact that the Louisiana State Supreme Court is even taking this case up is a really big deal. And a lot of people don't get it. And a lot of people are not paying attention to how significant this is. I mean, Louisiana, look, Jeff Landry, I would argue, is probably the most consequential governor to come along for change in Louisiana. We all know that we've needed to change our Napoleonic Code, and Louisiana as a whole, we've been stuck in a rut. We've been losing. We know we need to change, but it's almost like we don't know how to change. We elect a governor that runs on change. He is pissing off all kinds of people in the first session. We've got a legislature, including Seabass and some of the others, that are doing a lot of crazy crap that we all don't know whether it's right, wrong, or what, but it's change. And here we are today with a law that's been in at least since the 1800s that is having an adverse effect. That's my words. And we've got the Louisiana Supreme Court considering a change.
The Supremes.
So what is this case about? Go to the next cut, the original brief of applicant. And basically here's what happened. And this is something that, and I'm going to I'm going to simplify this thing really easy. I don't agree with you, Ryan Haygood, and here's why I'm not going to agree with you. And I'm going to make the point with this whole case here. You're going to see. This case began out of a basic car wreck. Okay? How many of you have been in a car wreck? And how many of you have been rear-ended or hit in the side or whatever by somebody, and it's pretty clear and cut who's at fault? There's not a lot of question about the whole deal.
Okay.
And the insurance company, you work through that process and it's settled and it's over with, and voila. Well, what if there was a disagreement on damages? And let's just go to the first page. Let's read the introduction of this suit. And this is a big deal, guys. So hang in there and pay attention. The attorneys that are primary attorneys in this are local attorneys from Bossier. Joe Gregorio from Bossier, longtime attorney. J. Cole Sarton, from Shreveport, longtime attorney around here. You've got Alan Seaball, which goes to why I'm wearing my hat, Seabiscuit, and one of his partners, Michael Mellering, who has been on one of our shows.
Yeah, that name rings a bell.
He's a law partner of Alan Seaball. He participated in the debate we had for the Bessie seat, but as a lot of you know, he ended up running for the state representative seat. Was it Alan Seaball's seat? I think it was Alan Seaball's seat.
Think so, but it's been a little bit.
And then his wife ran for the Bessie seat that he vacated, which his wife formerly was on the Cypress district. So does that kind of connect the dots for y'all about Bossier and why? Anyway, so keep scrolling down, go to the first page, the introduction.
Hold on, I think I'm there, but let me make sure. Yeah, that's the end of the first page. So shall we go to the table of contents and pass that?
Yes.
Okay, that would actually be, sorry. Whoop, I think I passed it. Here we go. Introduction.
I can't read it, so you're going to have to, I guess.
Yeah, that's okay. This case presents a res nova issue concerning the constitutionality of Louisiana Revised Statute 13:4163 that provides a mechanism for a legislator or legislative employee to, at his or her own discretion, obtain a peremptory continuance of any court hearing or an extension of any deadline within 30 days prior to any legislative session or constitutional convention, 30 days after the adjournment sine die of any legislative session or constitutional convention, or any time such person is, quote, is engaged in activities including travel in connection with or ordered by, number one, the legislature, number two, any legislative committee or subcommittee appointed by the President of the Senate or the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Number three, any committee or commission appointed by the governor or any other person authorized to make such appointments. Or number four, any constitutional convention or commission. I did not realize that this also included committees.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
That's a pretty big loophole.
And I'm going to jump past a lot of that because there's a lot more reading, but it basically mentions Alan Seaball in here. This is despite our legislature's recent and unanimous passage of Senate Bill 185, introduced by defense counsel in this litigation, Senator Alan Seaball, that mandated if a party or attorney opposes a motion for continuance or extension of a deadline pursuant to this section, upon motion of any party or upon its own motion, the court shall award attorney fees and costs payable to the client of the member or employee by the party or attorney who opposes such motion. So basically that means is this past session, Alan Seaball, who was involved in this case, tried to pass a bill. In fact, he did get it passed. He got it passed through the House and the Senate to inflict damage to any suit or lawyers or case or anybody, any plaintiff or anybody that tried to challenge someone filing a continuance, to tag them with attorney's fees. So, but specifically what I wanted to focus on was this case in general. Here, plaintiff Theresa Fisher seeks review of the district court's judgment denying her motion to declare LARS 134163 unconstitutional on its face as applied to the facts of this case. Plaintiff specifically challenged the mandatory, peremptory, and non-discretionary language of LARS 134163 that explicitly deprives the district courts of this state of any authority whatsoever to decide whether to grant or deny a legislative continuance anytime a legislator retained by either party simply files a written motion invoking his legislative privilege as follows. So basically, you know, what they're saying is they're trying to show that there are circumstances where when a legislator files for a continuance that it's not in good faith and that it shouldn't be upheld. But current law basically leaves it the court system and the judicial system to where there's
They don't
no
have any choice.
ambiguity. They
Yeah.
got no choice.
Hmm.
And so let me pose this question to all of you. If all of you were in some situation, some legal situation or legal shenanigan, can you think of some circumstance where a continuance wouldn't be appropriate or where it shouldn't be applicable? Is there any circumstance that comes to mind that maybe it shouldn't be able to be used?
Well, I can
Or,
think
or
of many cases where it's been continuances have been used and abused. I'm not going to mention names, but I can specifically think of one at the 26 JDC right now that has been continued like 7 or 8 times by the DA's office, and their excuse is they're not prepared. So, Duke, if you or I showed up for a court case and our attorney says, "Gosh, Judge, I'm just not prepared. Can I please have a continuance?" Do you think that the judge would grant that continuance to you or I, and if we had a case?
Well, that's a little bit different than what we're talking about tonight, but
I know, but the gist of it is the sort of the
I
same.
feel where you're going. Now I want you to
Okay.
jump to the original brief of applicant file.
All right.
And
Give me a second.
right out of the gate on the first page, is everybody, are y'all with us so far?
Well, now that was the original brief of applicant file.
Oh,
Make
yeah,
sure-
yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The next one, so you have this case where this person was in a car wreck, right? And you had a person was hit by somebody else, and they have insurance. The person who was hit had his insurance, and you've got a case where continuances are filed, and this case just keeps dragging on.
Hey, wait a minute.
Dragging on and dragging on.
Wait a minute. Isn't your buddy Seabiscuit and Mellorin, aren't they attorneys for the insurance companies?
Maybe. Yeah, I've heard that rumor. I have.
It's not a rumor. It's on their damn website.
Okay. So look, here's the thing. I saw a media release about this and I started digging into it. And so then I went to digging on some of these filings, and there's actually quite a few briefs to go through here. And I went and started going through all this, and I'm trying to put this together. And by all means, if Michael, if you or Alan or any of the other legislators that we're going to talk about here, or even Mr. Gregorio, if any of y'all want to come in and chime in and correct us, because we're not lawyers, we are amateur journalists, and we are piss poor journalists at that. We could get a lot of this wrong, but if we do, y'all can correct us by all means, but I'm going to do my best to articulate how I perceive it. So, there was a car wreck. A guy hits this lady. They want to resolve it. They can't resolve it. And why can't they resolve it? Because they can't go to court. The insurance company doesn't want to resolve it. They're disputing what's going on, and it can't get to court.
The insurance company is disputing it. Is that what I heard correctly?
One of the attorneys, who happens to be a legislator, keeps filing legislative continuances. And this thing drags out for, I think, almost 3 years, if I'm reading correctly, almost 3 years. Now, here's what's interesting. This is where, are you on the second? Yeah, you're on the second one, Stephen Harder brief.
Yes, yes.
Now, here's where it gets interesting for you, those of you watching. Stephen Harder, this is the brief from the person who hit the person. This was the person.
All right. Hold that thought for 1 second. Hold that
Okay.
thought. Because just to prove that I was not wrong, the attorneys at Sebaugh and Sepulveda provide fully integrated representation for their clients across a range of legal fields. Our firm is committed to working hand in hand with its clients to achieve two things, blah, 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 blah. With offices in Shreveport and Baton Rouge, we offer a full range of legal services with experience in insurance defense, oil, gas, and energy, and so on and so forth. So I'm not crazy about that. All right.
I think they also specialize in Islamic law, if I remember correctly. I may be wrong on that one. I don't know for sure. But either way, so this brief right here, Stephen Harder, this was the I don't know if this is the guy that hit the person, who is in the suit, the woman who is in this suit or what have you, but Stephen Harder, he files this brief, right?
He does. But I gotta hold on. I'm sorry, Duke. I've gotta this is the graphic on Sebaugh's website. Notice the insurance defense right there. They literally have a graphic shaking hands with the insurance company. Our firm provides robust and cost-effective defense for local, national, and international insurers. And look, I realize insurance companies need legal representation. I'm not saying they don't. But I just want everybody to remember where the deck is stacked. Okay, sorry.
Okay, well, this case is so bad that the person who hit the other person in the car, or that side, the defendant side, they file a brief in support of the plaintiff on this case. I mean, they join the plaintiff in wanting the law that enables legislative continuances unconstitutional. Did you hear? Did y'all hear me?
Whoa! Say that again.
So okay, think about this. You got a car wreck. You got this car, and you got this person that hits this car. We know who's at fault. The lady that Joe Gregorio is representing is the person who got hit. The person who hit them was, and I don't know if it was actually Stephen Harder. It may have been. Either way, the car was owned or insured by Stephen Harder or something to that effect. I don't know exactly, but and I'm going to call it the Stephen Harder car. The Stephen Harder car is the one at fault who hits the lady who's filed the suit, right?
Right.
Well, this legislative continuance thing, the Stephen Harder car is insured by this insurance group, right? So this case is so bad that this Stephen Harder has filed a brief supporting the person that they hit in their filing of this law being unconstitutional, of this legislative continuance, because this thing has went on. Nobody has been able to get resolution for, I think I'm correct in saying, over 3 or 4 years because of the filing of legislative continuances.
Right. And again, it's been a long day. It's been a long night. The lady gets hit. The other vehicle is at fault. The other vehicle, based on what we can see in the suit right here, looks like it's insured through Stephen Harder Jr., Stephen Harder Sr., and the Hanover Insurance Group. It's continuance after continuance after continuance, apparently by Alan Sebaugh and Michael Mellerin.
Go to page 4.
Okay. And you're saying that Stephen Harder and Stephen Harder Sr. and the Hanover Insurance Group filed a brief in support of the woman to get this case resolved because they actually want to pay out?
Well, to find the legislative continuance thing unconstitutional.
Okay.
Go to
Wanted to
page
make sure I was
4.
clear. All right. 1, 2.
Yeah. How odd is that for them to weigh in?
Okay. Page 4.
So
I'm at the introduction.
the unique procedural posture of the matter at issue before the honorable court makes for strange bedfellows. For the reason hereinafter set forth, defendant respondent Stephen Harder Sr. joins with the plaintiff applicant Theresa Fisher in seeking a judgment declaring RS 134163 unconstitutional on its face and as applied to the facts of this case. Basically, they're saying they agree that this legislative continuance is unconstitutional.
Some shenanigans going on.
This is unconstitutional. Go to page 6 and 7 on this deal.
Okay. Page 6.
Okay. So basically, this is describing the. You sure this is page 6?
It's page 6 of 10 of the PDF page numbers, but
yeah, the PDF page numbers. Okay. Well,
anyway, let me make sure. Sorry.
All right. So we can let's jump forward a little bit. We'll move forward from this. But it would be one thing if this was the only circumstance where, and I'm not trying to minimize this case. I'm not trying to minimize this case at all, but it would be one thing if this were the only circumstance where this legislative continuance issue was a problem. If you will go to the next brief that was filed, Carly Maggett brief, someone filed another brief in this case. And if you'll go to the introduction in this one, and we'll read that, and then we'll go to page 9. And this one gets down to something that's pretty basic regarding all of our rights as citizens, that from the Constitution of the United States. Go ahead and read that introduction.
Okay, so it says this court has granted the writ of supervisory review of Theresa Fisher, challenging the constitutionality of 13:4163, which provides for legislative continuances in judicial proceedings. Carly Maggett writes as amicus curiae to provide this court with further context into the use and abuse of the statute in question. Carly's matter involved a breakup between two people who had been dating for several years and ultimately were engaged to be married. The legal issue involved an engagement ring and debt occurred during the relationship. Jeremy Ducote filed a petition for declaratory judgment injunctive relief and TRO on June 25th of 2019. Carly filed an answer. A bench trial was originally scheduled for June 23rd, 2020, but was continued pursuant to the legislative continuance statute under review, 134163. The trial was ultimately held on November 30th, 2022, and January 6, 2023, which trial resulted in a judgment in favor of Carly and against Jeremy for money damages. So, what's that, 4 years later? Almost 4 years?
Yeah.
3.5. During the 3.5 years of litigation, counsel for Jeremy Ducote filed an ex parte motion for legislative continuance and extension 9 times in the district court and once in appellate court. These continuances, which are by statute peremptory and granted without hearing or consideration of any other factors, delay the trial for 2.5 years, increase litigation costs, imagine that, clog the court's docket, cost the clerk of court presumably hundreds of dollars in filing fees, and added to Carly Maggett's emotional pain.
How did it cost the clerk of court? Filing
Oh, who
fees.
knows? Who knows?
I was going to say, that's the way the clerk of court makes their money, but that's a whole other thing. Unfortunately, Carly's experience is not unique. The Fisher matter ultimately or currently under review is a great example of delayed justice and prolonged anguish. Now is the opportunity for this court to examine 134163 in the context of its improper use to manipulate and gain an unfair advantage in litigation.
Okay.
How much more you want me to read?
That's it. Jump to page 9.
Okay. Let's see here.
So in page 9, it wouldn't be that, again, like I said earlier, that if this one case or even that circumstance that was just read to you, keep going, that's not it. News reports of abuse in the criminal context. 9 on the PDF. So
all right, so that is 9, but just tell me when you want me to stop. I'm going backwards.
9 of 12.
Right there.
Yep. All right. So listen closely to this circumstance, and I want y'all to. I'm not in this particular case because this is an ongoing case, and I'm not suggesting innocence or guilt either way. But what I am saying is that every single person watching the show, you if you are charged with a crime, you allegedly have rights, to certain legal proceedings. You have rights. So let me just read this to you. The Fisher and Dakota cases are just 2 examples of abuse of the legislative continuance statute. But unfortunately, abuse of this statute is not confined to civil litigation. Another example has recently come to light involving Baron Bailey. A Webster Parish man has been held in jail presently in solitary confinement since July of 2019 on charges of second-degree murder and first-degree feticide. Mr. Bailey is being denied his constitutional right to a trial by jury because his lawyer, Senator Katrina Jackson, is constantly using the legislative continuance statute, according to the recent news report. Assistant District Attorney Hugo Holland said, quote, "I cannot get it to trial because the defense attorney is constantly using the legislative continuance statute." There's quite a few other quotes. KTBS 3 actually did a really good story on this. And, you had the circumstances, as I understand it, were that you had this lady who was pregnant, was in a house. There was these cars that ran by. There were a bunch of shots fired. She was struck while inside of her house from somebody outside. She died, and the baby died. This guy, Bailey, I think that was his name, Bailey, is said to have been supposedly the shooter or the guy that murdered them, although he contends he's innocent. He was not the person who did the shooting, and he has sought to have an expedient trial but has been unable to have a trial. He retained an attorney who happened to be a legislator, and according to the KTBS article, him and maybe his family spent $40,000 to this legislative attorney up front to represent them, and all they have gotten, basically, as I understand it, is legislative continuance after legislative continuance. This was 2019.
Yeah, he said here he's partly blaming the police, the judicial system, and the prosecution. Mainly, he's frustrated with his legal counsel. That's crazy.
Yeah. So whether there has been an abuse or not, what I could say is that if any one of you were accused of, a crime like this, and, the you're guaranteed a speedy trial.
Well, but that
But
depends on how you define speedy trial
you're
or
you're
who
only
defines it.
you're only guaranteed that if there's not a lawyer involved who is a legislator. And so basically the moral of the story is that a legislator's um, concerns are more important than the basic rights of all citizens, regardless. That supersedes all your rights. I mean, and it goes to this whole show. What we were talking about from the start of this show about
Well,
government in general.
this particular guy may be guilty, he may be innocent, but he expects and has a right to due process in a timely manner.
Yeah. So you've got this court case that's going to come before the Louisiana Supreme Court that are going to hear this. And, you've got cases where with examples of with Alan Seaball and Michael Mellerin, filing continuances regarding a basic car wreck, and delay after delay to where even the freaking guy who caused the accident or hit the other person is siding with the person saying that there's an abuse here, basically. Then you've got a circumstance where you've got a criminal situation where a person's life, I mean, this guy could potentially go to the electric chair or whatever. I mean, this guy
Well,
could be
all
on
right.
death row.
But
I mean,
let's look at
but
the flip side to this. Let's look at the
okay.
reason that statute was enacted in the first place. And if memory serves me, so I'm just talking off the cuff right here, y'all can excoriate me or correct me in the comments, or Duke, you may know the answer to this. The reason that law was enacted in the first place was because I would guess it back in the day, one of the ways to stop things from getting enacted in the legislature was to just have somebody arrested. Now, you would say, well, that would never happen today. Yeah, right. So I'm just playing devil's advocate for a minute. I do see some justification for at least the original intent for the statute. But when it gets abused like anything else, needs to be something done about it.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, interestingly, now that this case is going to be being heard before the Supreme Court on Friday of this week, Rex, you got the term limits case being heard on Friday, but you've also got this case being heard by the Louisiana Supreme Court on Friday. But interestingly, regarding this case in Webster Parish and this murder deal, um, sources have told me that that legislative attorney is no longer the attorney for this person. That they are, I don't know whether they backed out, they recused, or whether they backed out, or how that happened. But I just what I'm being told that all of a sudden, because of the light that's being shined on all of this as a result of this, this Supreme Court case, that she's no longer representing that client in Webster.
You're getting text messages of how wrong I am.
Somebody corrected me. This has been heard on Thursday, not Friday.
Which case?
This case, actually.
Okay. On Thursday.
I thought it was Friday. I thought both of these cases were on Friday, but somebody corrected me. Obviously, somebody's in tune.
Yeah. Okay.
All
right.
But the bottom line is, but there's another interesting twist or two to this. Where do you think all the legislators are on this?
Well, I would say since a large percentage of them are attorneys, and that goes to Colonel Crockett's question. So why are we electing politicians who are lawyers? because they're the ones running.
Well, I'm just wondering, all of y'all watching the show, do you think that your legislator is in favor of putting their self-interest ahead of people's rights to a speedy trial? Do you think they feel that way? I'm just wondering what y'all think. Do y'all think that's the way they would view it?
Good question. Maybe
Well-
one of them will come on. Paging Alan
Well,
Seaball. Paging Seabiscuit.
Well, maybe you will go to maybe you'll go to the cut legislators' briefs, because I would inform you that there is a group of legislators that filed a brief against I'm saying against, but there's a group of legislators that filed a brief.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah, they're in support of legislative continuances. And
Well, imagine that.
scroll on down. You see right there, you
Self-serving.
see members of the legislature in opposition to the plaintiffs. So keep on going down and let's look at all the legislators.
Wow. Let me scroll. I got to scroll back on wait. Right off the bat, Raymond Cruz.
Raymond is in the house. Now, Raymond's no lawyer. Why is it that Raymond would sign up to deny a person who is charged with murder in solitary confinement the right to a speedy trial when he claims that he's innocent?
Good
I
question.
mean, does he not have rights? I'm just wondering whether he's guilty or not. I mean, if the law applies equally, and that scale and balance that's in the hands, if that means anything, shouldn't that person be able to have a speedy trial? I mean, what is speedy to these legislators? I mean, and I'm not making no friends by being critical of them here for all sign or name. The ones that are lawyers, I can see them.
Yeah, but he's no lawyer. Wasn't he a B-52 pilot?
That's right. It's
Okay.
the ones that are not lawyers is who I have the beef with. That's the ones that I have the beef. Why are their names on here? Why did they sign it? I would love to know why Raymond Cruz believes that if you're accused of murder, that you should not have a speedy trial if you so choose.
Pilot to bombardier. We need to know why you signed on to this.
Just saying. I don't get it. I mean, I personally, I get it.
Yeah. Nothing ceases to amaze us. Well, nothing has ceased to amaze us for a long time.
But it's all who we elected, and the AG's office, they put a brief in opposition and wanting to continue the thing. But here's the deal. So
Wait, whoa. So the AG's office is in support of the existing statute?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Maybe we need to have the AG
Liz Morrell.
Yes.
We may need to. So,
and again, I want to state, because I know I'm right if I remember back in my civics class, the reason for that. And that's how I kind of already knew about it, but I wasn't sure of the statute and all that, was because that privilege or that had been abused in the past, and that was the reason for passing that.
I had somebody text me to say that Raymond Cruz is pro-insurance at all cost.
But that's not really I mean, it is in the case of Seaball and Mellerin, and that one case that we, the main case that we looked at, but it's not just about insurance.
Well, it's not, but I mean, I don't think they care about any other circumstance other than the insurance. They could care less.
Probably so. All right.
There was another important point that I wanted to make on this subject and to get out there, but the bottom line is this is a pretty important case, and in these cases, whether it was abuse of the legislative continuance or not. There's other questions about whether or not this it encroaches on powers, the powers of the judicial versus the legislative. I mean, think about it. The legislature gets to make the rules, and the judiciary is supposed to enforce those rules. And then here they're making a rule. You've got a conflict a little bit here. Think about the fact that uh, this case was happening, and Alan Seaball introduced a bill in the legislature to try to I hate to say discipline, that's the wrong word, but to cause there to be consequences that if anybody opposed someone opposing a legislative continuance, they would have to pay attorney fees and or more.
Yeah.
And
kind of that chilling effect.
That bill passed the House and the Senate, and it was only stopped because Governor Jeff Landry vetoed it. That was the only reason it was stopped.
And he's a lawyer.
So the point is
that's what I don't get. I understand. Well, the AG is elected, but she was in the Attorney General's office with Jeff Landry. So how does she square supporting the original statute? I agree with Colonel Crockett. It should allow limited continuances at best. But how does the AG's office square with siding with the original statute while Landry's vetoing the bill that puts more teeth in it for Seaball? I know they're independent branches. I get it.
Yeah, I don't know, but what I can tell you is that in my opinion, that there appears to have been abuses and using the continuances, not for the benefit of the clients. I mean, if it were for the benefit of the clients, why would you have the defendant in this case, Stephen Harder, filing a brief in support of the plaintiff? I mean, if that's not the case, why would you have that happen?
Yeah,
I mean, it's clear cut.
I don't know.
But the fact, but even more important is the fact that the Louisiana Supreme Court is even hearing this case. That is a hurdle that is something of a magnitude that's unbelievable. And word is that a bunch of these legislators intend to show up and be seated there at the Louisiana Supreme Court when they're hearing arguments on this case. Why are they showing up? Or do they
wonder if they'll be boisterous.
I'm wondering if they're trying to intimidate the justices.
I don't know.
Is that what their intent is?
I wonder if they'll get 3 minutes to speak.
Are they going to make legislation after this specifically to rein in the Louisiana Supreme Court? Is that what they're going to do?
Those rogue Supreme Court judges. All right.
Okay. So I got to tell you, I had a legal Smeagol message me regarding the AG, and they said that it's one of those parts of the job. She has a legal obligation to protect statutes of Louisiana. That makes sense, because if you read that brief, I can see that. I could
see that. I was trying to think of cases where they argue against certain laws, but I can see that. All right, it's been a long night. I'm only firing on about 6 cylinders.
Yeah, and I'm on 5. So anyway, I see the numbers have dropped. People are leaving. We bored y'all to death. We told you this was going to be a boring show. It's kind of that boring part of
We didn't
getting
lie.
good government at this point. But, if you were here and you're still here, you are informed. Whereas the people that are not here, they'll be looking for you to inform them.
Yes. And if you're here every Tuesday night, like we are, you will be more informed, although maybe minus a few brain cells. I don't know. It could go either way. We never know until the show actually is over, whether we're smarter or less smart after this show. Something to ponder.
I'm going to have to ponder on that. Am I
You
less
didn't think
smart
about
than
it
I
that
was
way,
before?
did you?
No, I didn't. In
See?
fact, I'm thinking I'm dumber. I really do.
I'm tired. I'm delirious. I'm worn out. I've used a lot of brain cells today doing tech stuff. So you'll have to forgive me for some of the things that might come out of my mouth in the next minute or so before we end the show.
That's right. So, hey,
we're both yawning. Let's go.
Yeah, term limits hearing at 26 JDC. It'll be Friday. Be there or be square.
Be there.
Can't wait.
And we'll all go out to lunch together afterwards, or dinner, as the case may be.
Yeah, everybody show up. It'll be a hoot. And if you feel like going to New Orleans to the Supreme Court, wait a minute. Somebody sent me a link. You can watch the Supreme Court deliberations on legislative continuance. Somebody sent me that. We need to share that out so everybody can watch.
Yeah.
It'll be a hit. You can go and see your legislators sitting there in support of, the what did you say at the beginning of the show? How did you describe this? The servants and the serves, or
no. The higher standards versus higher status. They're supposed to hold them to a higher standard, not a higher status.
Yeah, so y'all can watch the higher status people seeking to get higher status, above us people.
Little peons and peasants.
Yeah,
let them eat cake.
Let them eat cake.
All right.
That's all I got. I'm delirious too.
All right,
Good
we're out
night.
of here. See ya.